Manong Tinni, thank you very much for joining us today, having this discussion. Let's start out by if you could tell us about your background, how you got started with the martial arts.
Oh, sure. I hope this won't take so long. Just to give you a little background about me and my generation, because I was born in 1953 in Cebu City, barely 8 years after World War II. So I went to grade school in 1961. That's 15 years after World War II. So the general climate, the sentiment of Filipinos at that time was one of bravery, heroism, patriotism, love of country, and practically 80% or more Filipinos were pro-American. Well, that's why most of you guys here, your parents must be baby boomers too. That's why you're there right now. We're very, very pro-American, and we didn't like everything Japanese at that time. So I grew up in that climate, in that atmosphere in Cebu. My dad was a World War II veteran, and when I went to grade school, this is only 15 years after the war, right? So people were still traumatized. The war was very destructive. Lots of families were dislocated, separated. Lots of heroes were missing. You just imagine 15 years. What was 15 years ago? Say 2005. Still very fresh in your memory, right? You can remember John Mayer at that time, or the hits. Who else? Mariah Carey, Gwen Stefani. So it's not too long ago when we went to grade school, our teacher was still talking about the war, right? So this is quite long discourse, but just to give you a general idea what the kids were around that time. My classmates, none of my classmates, when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to be in the Navy. The guy, oh, I want to be in the Army. I want to be a pilot. Nobody ever talks of being a doctor or a nurse or an engineer. No one. In my generation, from the first grade up to the fifth grade, nobody wanted to have another job except the military. So this was deeply ingrained in our consciousness. So with that backdrop, because my dad was a World War II veteran, I had many fights. My first fight, I was only 6 going 7. It was inside the school. And so reason why I'm telling you this, because this will lead me to why I took up the martial arts. The second fight I had was, I was after school, just around 50 neighbors, just right across Sunny's house. Sunny was house, just right across the gate of Sunny. I was accosted by 2 neighbors and want to fight me. Oh, sure, but can I get my things back to the house? I'll be back for you guys. Went home, put my bag down there. I asked permission by my dad, who was already home at the time. And I said, Dad, Boy and June want to have a fist fight with me. And my dad said, oh, sure, go ahead, get them. I went back. I just punched the 2 guys. They both ran away, came back home. And Dad asked me, are you finished? Yeah. How did it go? They ran away. Oh, good. Take a bus. So, almost every day there were fights in school, and even we just had fist fights without any animosity. So it's just like sport for us. Every after recess, it's you and me during recess. Okay, sure. What time? Where? Behind the stage. So that's what happened. So the general, the school children at the time had no concept of what running away is, what fear is all about. It's not only me; it's most of my classmates. They just were tough. Some of them grew up with fathers who were veterans, so that was the sentiment at the time. So when my dad taught me boxing early age. I was 8 years old. So every Saturday we went to the Cebu Coliseum. So I have observed a lot of really good boxers. The uncles of Jonathan Peñalosa, Dodi Boy Peñalosa, Rick Peñalosa, Carl Peñalosa. I've seen a lot of fights in the 60s, and I idolized many good boxers in Cebu at that time. And my dad was a brawler when he was younger. In his younger days, he knew how to box. He's very scientific. My father told. So my dad used to say, you know what, guys? Anyone can throw a, you know, a right straight, a right cross. That's easy, uppercut. But if you can't throw a good left hook, you're not a good boxer. Okay, when I was in high school, I had my first taste of I witnessed how karate can be dangerous, right? In a school rumble. One of my classmates was Anthony Cabagnot, was I think 4 years older than me. I saw him outside. He just threw a side kick to one of his enemies and threw the guy right smack into the ice cream vendor, the rolling ice cream vendor. What they call here dirty ice cream. It toppled all the ice cream out. So that was my awakening of, oh, that's karate. Yeah, it's really good sidekick, picture perfect sidekick. So after that, we had lessons with Ned Nepangue in Shurin-ryu karate. Then after several months later, I had my brother's close friend, Ernie Martinez. He was one of the pioneers of Shurin-ryu in the country. He was a student of Lafilo Gonzalez, and he appeared in the first karate movie ever, by Roberto Gonzalez, Hari ng Karate. He was one of the villains there. And he used to hang out in the neighborhood, not because he wanted to teach me karate, because I was the only one in the neighborhood who can accompany him on guitar, his favorite songs. It always, my karate sessions with Ernie Martinez always started with us jamming on the streets. So I finally enrolled at YMCA sometime 1968. Yeah, I was 15 going 17. I was under the tutelage of Dr. Ben Marapaw. He's still around now. Dr. Evencio Marapaw, one of the best karate instructors that era. So I crossed also the other black belts and brown belts also, you know, recognized, saw in me a prodigy in the making. So they inspired me a lot, like Ben Simbahon, Benjamin Simbahon, Ben Balmore, who later became a national champion, and Daplas. So when I went to college, after I earned my brown belt in karate in Shurin-ryu, after passing my Sangkudai kata, in college I returned to my boxing roots. So I trained with Jojo Fajardo. It was the 1974 Asian Games gold medalist. And I sparred a lot of amateur boxers at that time. I can't recall all the other names. I only remember Rudy Hagdon. He was also a gold medalist, I think, in the flyweight division, the Terran Games in 1974. And so now we'll move to Eskrima. I never liked it since childhood, because every time my uncles come around the neighborhood during family gatherings, they can't seem to hold back. I mean, it's always hurt. The locks and joints, the sticks, they hit too hard. So that's very intimidating. So not until I was assigned in Bohol. I was already working with Nestle in 1978. So one Saturday afternoon, I was making my sales reports. Right across, I had a very good view of Tagbilaran Bay. So fine, the glittering beach. And then I heard this very neat piano riff just beside my boarding house. Was owned by Tatay Bandin Cabagnot. Right next door was the house of Tatay George Cabagnot. So I stopped my report right away. Went to Tatay George's house to see who was the guy playing the piano. So I saw a very good-looking guy, around 54 at the time. Was about 5'3". Wow. I asked him, no, you play the piano like a Cebuano. Yeah, sure, because I learned it from a Cebuano. So I made one request after another of my favorite standard songs because, you know, I also play keyboards. He stop and look at me, size me up. Say, you know, you look like very fit and you look like you can throw a punch. What? Yeah. So, yeah, okay. No, can you play some more songs? No, I play more songs for you, but can I do a demo of what I can do? What about no? He said, you know Eskrima? I've heard of it, but I'm not interested. Okay, you punch me. So I gave him a token line. That's a sissy punch, you know, much harder. So I give it, I punch him harder this time, pow. You know, the next thing I knew, I was already on the ground. Pow, just like that. Swept my feet, got me into an arm lock, thing like that. So he said, okay, here's the deal. I teach you the neat chords on piano, but you be my Eskrima training partner. Oh shit. So that went on for about a year because we're just next door neighbors. But you won't believe me if I tell you I never remembered a single thing he taught me. I never remembered a single technique, Eskrima thing he taught me except for the parrying, stuff like that. But he was also a good boxer. So when I was finally assigned, I was promoted to supervisor in Uzamis sometime 1997, 98. Oh, you know, Uzamis is the underworld capital of Mindanao. So, okay, I had to get myself another piece, another 1911 45 pistol. The Korotong Baliling this is the headquarters of Korotong Baliling. So you can never tell. It's a deterrent, you know. So I bought a Bullion 5, high capacity 1911 45 calibers. And I went shooting at the range, Fort Apache range, where I befriended a lot of guys like Reno and Roger Simbahon and the owner, Ruel. So one day, Reno, the range officer of Fort Apache, had trouble with his hammer because the hammer he bought, a Wilson combat hammer, customized, a custom hammer by Wilson. When he attached it to his pistol, his Norenko gun, he didn't have enough tension, you know, to get the pistol into battery. So Roel told Reno, you can go to Manong Tinni, Macachor. I think he can fix that. So Reno came to my house one Sunday, and he was so worried. So I checked his pistol. Oh, this is horrible, Reno. How much did you buy it? 2,500. Can you fix it? Or I just sit there, relax. I tried to figure out what's wrong with this one. So while Reno was waiting for his gun to be fixed, I showed him some books. Edgar Solito's book, The Secrets of Arniscali and Eskrima. So I was scouring the book. Ren, if you know anyone there from Uzamis is still around, just tell me because there are gaps in my martial arts training. I don't know how to handgun recovery and handgun retention. I know a lot of Escrimadors can do that during the old days. Disarming, pistol disarming. So Reno was scoring the books. How about that one? Yeah, this Caballero is passed away a long time ago. Oh my God. Then he flipped the book again. So, this one, I know this guy. Said, oh, Eric Olavides. Oh, said, can you take me to him? Sure. Eric is just like me, Sunday photographer. He's a good photographer. He's a lay minister in the church. Both of us are lay ministers. I can introduce you to him, take you to his house. Just live right there, a few blocks away. Really? So I was so excited. So, make a long story short, the following Sunday, he took me to Manong Eric's house. And Manong Eric, I saw all his training equipment. He had a dummy, a pipe, all rusty and all cobwebs all over. Even his sticks, so dusty. Oh my God, I don't think I can get any lessons from this. Looks like he's retired completely from Army Eskrima. So, Reno told him about me, how I fixed Reno's gun. The first question Manong Eric threw at me, you know what, Tinni? I'm confused. Why, sir? You come from Cebu, the capital of Eskrima in the world, and you don't know Eskrima? Of all people, you come to me. You know, Manong, at that time, I was really interested in Eskrima, you know. Anyway, let's do it Sunday. So the first Sunday training was at our next day office. So my training with Manong Eric went on for about 3 years until we parted ways in 2001. So that's when, that's around the time that Dr. Ned Nepangue, the late Dr. Ned Nepangue, found out about the website I built for Eskrima de Campo. He coined it JDC-IO to honor Caballero. JDC is for Jose Diaz Caballero. IO is for Ireneo Olavides. So just combined both their initials. Eskrima de Campo JDC-IO. In fact, Manong Eric designed the logo. If you've seen it, it's a star. More like a Mercedes-Benz logo. Eskrima de Campo JDC-IO. So Ned, when I met him at the port one Sunday morning, so I took him to the hotel. So that was the first time I met Ned Nepangue. I never heard of him, but I only read about him in his articles in the Rapid Journal magazine. It's now the defunct Rapid Journal magazine. So Ned asked me, the first question he asked me, "Bay, you should go out in the open, teach more about, because I've heard so much about Caballero and Olavides from the book of Edgar Solete. And since you guys are very reclusive, and this is the exact words of Ned, just get away from that tribal mentality." This were verbatim, exact word. Get away from that tribal mentality. So can you help me out with Manong Eric? Because this art's going to be lost if you don't go out. All the others there are outside already teaching, exposing themselves all over the world, like modern armies, Balintawak, all those, systems. Kaya how do we go about it? We'll just go to his house, tell him about it, what's the general climate right now in the FMA, why we should go out and come out in the open. Just impose strict, code of conduct so that everything will going to be a disciplined, well-structured organization. Yeah, I can do that. So Ned talked with Manong Eric Olavides. The three of us were discussing about the future of Eskrima de Campo JDC-IO, my mother club at the time. So around July 2001, before Manong Eric left for Santa Rosa to join with his kids in Santa Rosa, Laguna, he finally confirmed my graduation. My graduation from Eskrima de Campo JDC. He told me things about Eskrima de Campo from Caballero, all those things that I'm not privy to tell right now because I don't want to hurt the sensibilities of a lot of guys, but it's just between him and Manong Eric. So that's practically how I learned Eskrima from Manong Eric.
Tinni, that was your introduction to Eskrima?
Yep.
Was through Manong Eric?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Manong Eric. Nobody else. Because the one that taught me by the pianist Manolilo Cabagnot, I forgot. I was just completely erased from my recycle bin. So, but it was very good, very good. It was one of the most feared men in Bohol at the time. He was the former warden. But into Eskrima, it came from Manong Eric Olavides.
Because a lot of people in, especially in America and European and the Western world, they always want to trace lineage. Uh, what is like the history behind Estokada de Campo? What's the full history and lineage?
Okay. Estokada de Campo came from Jose Caballero. It was the Campo uno dos tres Orihinal. And Caballero, he appeared in 2 books of Edgar Solete. If you're familiar with the books, you've read of it, The Secrets of Arnis Cali and Eskrima. The Secrets of Arnis Cali and Eskrima. It's a huge book, big book. And the other book is just plainly The Secrets of Arnis. In the book, The Secrets of Arnis, Edgar Solete, PG Edgar Solete, dwelt a lot of his time in the story of Caballero. In fact, he was able to name names. The conquest, the guys Caballero defeated in Huego Todo Duel. I leave it up to the audience to, really to be critical about whether it's credible or not. I'm not saying it's not credible, because coming from Manong Eric, so as a disciple, as a student, I have to believe in the story, right? Because if you don't believe in the story, you might as well get out of that system. So Caballero defeated 11 Escrimadores during his Huego Todo days. And just to name a few, it's already out in the book, Makalulan, Balbino Mangkao. As long I can recall the 9 other names, but it's in the book of Edgar Solete. So I would give it a lot of weight as far as credibility is concerned, because you've heard of other Huego Todo guys, the death matches, but they kept names, right? There are no names documented in their stories. Just he defeated this one and this guy and that guy, and that's all there is to it. So there are no names attached. So Manong Eric was the heir apparent. That's what I've been told of the system. Just like Caballero, he was also very secretive about a lot of things, about the techniques. So, but one day, he studied with Caballero for 7 years. Imagine 7 years. Huh? One day, one of Manong Jose Caballero's son got embroiled with the police and was, incarcerated at the local city jail in Ozamis. So, finding no one to help him build out his son, Bador, actually Bador passed away already. He turned out to be a real good guy later in his life. So he knocked on Manong Eric's door one day, and told Manong Eric, you're the only person who can help me bail out Bador. No, so Manong Eric never hesitated to help out Manong Jose. Sure, I'll do that. So in short, Bador got out on bail through Manong Eric. So out of gratitude, Manong Jose Caballero finally opened up to Manong Eric. He told Manong Eric, you know what, Eric, all the curriculum I taught you is good enough for my sons, my immediate family to take over. You're good. They can stand on their own. But I show you some of the things that I don't teach in the curriculum, that the way I taught in Huego Todo matches. So Manong Eric, what's the difference? What's the difference? The curriculum I passed on, it's good. It's a good curriculum from elementary up to college level. You're at a big circle. Manong Eric was a little confused. So the one I'm going to show you now, they're all practically the same techniques, but they are now the small circle. So the Campo uno dos tres Orihinal was the big circle. Present day Eskrima de Campo JDC-IO is the small circle. So I immediately grasped what Manong Eric was telling me, because the way I observe his trajectory, the way he strikes, the double striking, it's just amazingly fast. Phenomenally fast, you know. I've never seen anyone as fast as he is, even until today. So, um, so that went on for about 2 more years. Um, this is now, I'm going now to Estokada de Campo, how I organized that curriculum. Estokada de Campo, my own expression is still the same. There's nothing new about it. From JDC-IO, the only difference is that there are some techniques that I have tested over time for sparring with Kurt Gooding. It's very unfortunate I was not able to video all the sparring sessions I had with Kirk. I got hematoma and bruises all over doing that. So I distilled some of the techniques that work, focus on them, rationalize, trim it down. So what is Estokada de Campo today is more focused on the three basic principles. The three basic principles coming from Manong Eric: the speed, the precision, speed or timing is the same. Speed is not just how fast one can travel from point A to point B. Speed could also mean how you determine the precursors of an attack. Caballero is very good at that. Just a twitch in your nostrils, he can detect a strike is incoming. That's how good he was. So that's his motto. Strike first, strike last. And when I was studying with Manong Eric, there were no blocking. He didn't teach me any block. He always tells me, blocking won't work. Why? Everyone is blocking. No, it's always late. So I came to studied some of the martial arts, the great martial artists of our time. Bruce Lee, I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee. It's just very simple approach to, to encounters. They strike first. They just strike first. They don't block around. So I think that's the only difference. Because I did not introduce new techniques. All the techniques came from Manong Eric, down to the subtle half step footwork, engaging, and
So is Estokado de Campo, is it more of a refined version of Manong Eric's system?
I won't say that. I would be too pretentious to say that.
Okay.
Because it, right? And it is just my expression, because once I accept students and who come to me, and I have a lot of instructors already all over, I always tell them, don't imitate me because I'm different. You can't imitate me. You have to be your own style. Style cannot be institutionalized, because whatever you find something that you can improve on this system, just grab it. Just take it, whatever you can do. Because as I said, I'm not a technique-centric guy. I focus on the cardio, sparring, pressure testing, what I call turbo drills. Those are non-cooperative drills, so full swing strikes, then distance management, distance deception. I think these are all the only innovations I did with Estokada de Campo.
Mm. So is Estokada de Campo a largo system?
Largo. It's a largo system.
Okay.
It's a largo system.
And also, do you, how some systems, their system is either when they train, a stick is a stick, or sometimes a stick is to represent a blade?
That's a very controversial question, actually, because Estokada de Campo, or the Campo in general, the way I see it, the way I was trained, is a stick art, purely stick art. Everything, all the movements there, the trajectories, the center of gravity, the delivery, is a stick art. Now, claiming that is transferable to a blade or sword, again, that would be too pretentious. And that is one of the biggest, biggest faults of so many systems, because they claim the transferability from stick to blade will be that easy. I always tell guys, so what about if you go into a blade fight? I always tell them, you should study Illustrissimo. Study the Illustrissimo system, because these are two different animals, I would never make that claim. It's easy. It's easy to brag about it. It's easy to invent. That's the easiest part in the FMA. Inventing things, inventing techniques. I always endorse them to whoever the good instructors are in KI. A lot of them. There's so many of them. I would endorse them to Mang Romy Macapagwal, to Carlos Brothers, Baste and Sexto, Coach Arnold Narso, Vico, Aquino, Perrin. There's so many. In Australia, there's one sensational, very fast guy, Raymond Floro. Who else? I failed to mention. JJ Hervas in the US, also good. Also good. So that's it. I don't want to. I want to segmentize myself as different from a blade art. So when somebody asked me, if you handle the blades, how are you going to do it? I'm going to tell you this story, because one of the reasons why I'm here, my backdrop are the trees, because I'm also a fan of Edgar Solete and Lameco Eskrima. I always endorse the guys I really admire. I always talk about them, not about myself. So one day I was trimming down the mango trees behind me, my back, with my Sansebar 18-inch Sansebar blade. Okay, so I tried the De Campo strikes with it while taking a break, drinking water, freshening up. The stick arts that I was used to was horizontally oriented with trajectories on Kadlit, if you do. Only very few shots that are 30 degrees with 30 degrees trajectories. So I was doing some De Campo stuff with my blade. I discovered it didn't work the way I wanted it. For one, the center of gravity is different. You can't rely on the tip of the blade to make your strikes effective. Center of gravity is different. Center of balance is different with the sword. So I found out, oh, this is anomalous. I can never claim stick art is easily transferable to blade art. It's two different things. So I was doing so I changed my trajectory to a more vertical orientation. Yeah, I discovered, hey, wait a minute, this looks like something I saw in Illustrissimo. It's something like the Kadlit or the Dupli Gulpi. The Dupli Gulpi, if you change the trajectory, a perfect vertical trajectory, it's like the Media Fraile of Illustrissimo. Which lead me to the conclusion that Edgar Soliti, I don't know, he was very smart to fuse the two systems in Lameco, Largo and Media. Co is the corto coming from Piquete Tercia. So that's really a huge awakening for me. No, this is not easy. It's easier said than done, transferability from stick sword. So these are two different specializations. I don't want to claim I know blade art. I'm not good at it. I'm just a stick fighter. So when it comes to close range, I can throw a lift hook anytime. I'm more comfortable with it. Or just do a single leg takedown, mount you, knee and belly, that stuff.
Since
yeah.
you said that you started out with boxing from your father, did you incorporate a lot of what you learned in boxing?
Yeah. The fast switch from, because when I was in the karate, we were more on the southpaw. We were more southpaw oriented stance. The lead foot is always the right foot, as opposed to my orientation boxing, where orthodox stance. My lead hand is my left hand for the jab. When we did karate, my lead foot is my right foot. I found out that it's difficult to to maneuver, difficult to estimate distance if you can switch as fast from orthodox to southpaw, right? Get what I mean? So I go to orthodox, go to southpaw. So during my karate days, I was involved in a very bad accident because I was faking an orthodox stance. This was quite unusual because one of the unwritten rules in sparring the YMCA dojo at the time, I was already a green belt, was, always in the southpaw stance. The right lead foot, because there's always the side kick that goes ahead before any other strike. We're more kicking, we had little punches to the head and body. If punches were ever delivered, elbows were always right to the forehead, not in the jaw. It was no, it's restricted area. So one day I was sparring with one of the black belts, one of my really nice guys, one of my instructors, Umpong. I just named him Umpong. I won't name I won't mention the full name. Spar with Umpong. So I made an orthodox boxing stance. An orthodox stance. Switch. Made a fast switch to southpaw. 30 degrees. When I came back to orthodox, boom, that's when I threw a roundhouse. Pow! I hit him right on the eyebrow, just above the eyebrow. So you know what he told me? Tinni, you're good. That's happened a lot of times. This is the first time that something like this happened. I was careless, I was stupid, so no problem at all. So I was scared because the following meeting, 2 days later, we always assembled and Doc Ben Marapaw. Okay, I was expecting a reprimand from Doc Ben. Oh, I was so nervous already. Doc Ben approached me. You know what he said? Just cut your nails next time. That's it. So yeah, I do that in stick sparring, and I've seen that during the Russian house, the fast twitch is really, really effective because.
Manong Tinni, can you explain the Russian house for the people that are not familiar?
Well, it was organized 10 years ago by Alexander Pesarkin. The purpose of the Russian house was purely to invite Russians to come to the mother of, to the motherland of Arnis Eskrima. It was always held in Cebu, most of the time, was always held in Cebu. It's been going on for 11 years already. Right about this time, we should be preparing already for the Russian house.
So this is a yearly thing?
Yeah, it's a yearly event. Oh, yeah. But later on, it evolved because a lot of guests from different countries were attracted to, we're a good pool of instructors. Really, really good pool of instructors. We have GM Rene Tarazon, Tuhon Nunoy Garucho, Tuhon Mel Tortal, Jim Bobby Tubuapa is there, Jim Nick Ilazar, Jim Danny Casio, one phenomenal guy, Silat guy, More Morning, SSBD, Silat Sofian Biladiri. So became an institution already. So we had the support of the Department of Tourism for the guests and everything. So it's a very fun workshop. It lasts for almost a month. The first training batch usually is held in Cebu City for 14 days. Then the next 14 days or 15 days is usually held in the islands somewhere. Like what we did this year. The first part was in Cebu City at the Bayfront, and the second leg of the Russian house was held in Camotes. Beautiful place. I'm Cebuano, but it was the first time I set foot on Camotes. Oh, that's a beautiful island. And my first year, 2019, was in Bantayan Island, the second leg. So it's really fun. People are so nice. Everybody's so nice. All the participants, you should, if you have time, you should experience it. It's really, really memorable. more just like a vacation.
You know, once
Yeah.
the lockdown ends, we would really like to go to the Philippines.
Yeah, once the lockdown is, so many people, so many the good instructors are good. GM no Rodel Dago, a very funny guy. Very funny. You really have fun with him. GM Bobby Tabuada is just just very charismatic, disarming presence in him. Yeah, and I always endorse everyone to learn from GM Bobby Tabuada. I also introduced a lot of guys to Alexander Pisarkin, who is now my coach, the main organizer. He's now a coach of Estokada de Campo, Alexander Pisarkin. I don't just promote myself. I'll promote other people who I find really good. I'm not after, making myself very popular in the FMA. So now there are plans to hold the Russian house in Mexico next year. I hope you'll push through November.
That is actually doable. We could
That
probably do
is doable.
Mexico. Yeah.
Cajun. I don't know how to pronounce the place.
Cancun?
Cajon, Mexico. So I'll ask Alex because I'm still part of his pool of instructors. But yeah, that's good because I have other friends in the US who can, actually sponsor me. Yeah.
I'd really love to get into your book.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
what inspired you and Dr. Nepangue to write this?
Because Mike and myself, we know Eugene Nepangue, and
Oh, yeah.
we don't know if he's related to Dr. Ned Nepangue.
He's
But,
the younger brother of Dr. Ned.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Eugene. The
Okay.
younger brother of Dr. Ned Nepangue. Yeah. The other thing is, we have to reclaim our heritage through a truthful narrative, truthful, factual narrative of our martial heritage. You have to reclaim that. Otherwise, we can't allow Americans to dictate what the history of Eskrima is all about, right? It may not be, it may hurt the sensibilities of people who always harbor this, notion of an ancient Filipino culture so advanced that they developed their own martial. It came from Spain. It came from Eskrima, the word itself. Spanish, through the Spanish priest. And in our book, I was only able to mention about 3 Spanish priests like Father Ibanez, who took charge in the pacification of Lamitan and Sulu. He trained natives.
Yeah. I found that very interesting in your book, how the friars were former soldiers from the Spanish Wars with the Moors, and then they became priests, and then went to the Philippines.
Because the first batch of Spanish priests who came here were Jesuits, and Jesuits was founded by a warrior, Saint Ignatius de Loyola. He's a Basque, gone from the northern Basque region, and the Jesuits, the Basque were, as different as the Castilian and the Malagueña Spaniards in Spain, right? They're even aspiring to have their own homeland, like the Basque terrorist group, ETA, and they're never proud to be called Castilian Spaniards. They always have their sense of nationhood as separate, distinct culture, the Basque culture. So these are the first priests who were thrown in here to the Philippines. In fact, the only governor general in the Philippines was Basque. His name was Sebastian Hurtado de Corcuera. Yes, but he had a bad blood with a priest because Corcuera was more sensitive to the Indians, to the natives, well-being. He was not the oppressive, tyrannical governor general. Actually, he executed one Spanish soldier for the murder and rape of a Filipino Indian. And that Spanish soldier took refuge in the Jesuit cathedral. He took refuge there in the cathedral, the Spanish group. Corcuera was so mad about it. He wanted to punish that Spanish soldier. So Corcuera raided the convent and took custody of the Spanish soldier and executed him. So that's the start of Sebastian Hurtado de Corcuera's, trouble with the clergy. Were very dominant in all the Spanish colonies all over the world. They were the ones actually calling the shots. It's not the civilian government, it's the clergy, the Spanish priests, it's the religious, who are the ones in charge. So, in the same manner, the ones who are in charge in the defense of the coastal villages was priests,
The
right?
friars, yes.
Yeah, around I forgot the year. I can mention 1700s, something like that. The ones who built the Presidio in Zamboanga, Fort del Pilar, still standing until today, were Cebuano recruits, Cebuano and Bolano recruits. There came a time during the Spanish occupation that all the Spanish regulars in the Zamboanga Presidio were recalled to the capital in Luzon for the purpose of beefing up the Spanish regular forces in Luzon because they were scared of an imminent pirate attack by the Chinese pirate Puzinga. So in the process of redeploying the Spanish regular soldiers, there was a vacuum in the defenses of the Visayan coastal towns, Cebu, everything there, because they were the established pueblos and colonies in Cebu and encomiendas. So who took charge in this vacuum? Spanish priest, right? The Spanish warrior priest. Then we have Fray San Pedro Agustin, also called in North Mindanao, was also called El Padre Capitan. Father Julian Bermejo in south of Cebu is also got the nickname El Parroco Capitan. All the Capitan is always follows priests who were military, who had military knowledge at the same time. There's so many of them. In fact, Mat Galas of Hema, you heard of him, Historical European Martial Arts Association, furnished me copies of Spanish priests who engaged actually in training Filipino Indians. So I was able to gather around 9 names of Spanish priests. Here's the amazing thing. When your karate guru, karate instructor tells you about the history of karate, that it came from this Buddhist monk called Daruma, there's only one Buddhist monk. No one in the entire karate world would ever question that, right? No one ever doubted that, whether it's true or it's a myth, okay? Now we have more dozens of Spanish priests training Filipino natives, Eskrima. And everyone goes insane. They go berserk. Oh, we had Kali, 2,000-year-old martial arts. Can you see the disparity?
Yeah.
The anomaly there. Can you see that? Just my way of presenting, 2 different sides of the story, the history of the martial arts.
Mm-hmm. Well, another common belief with FMA is that the Spaniards outlawed any kind of blades, and I find that very interesting in your book too. How, if you could explain that.
Eric Jundes, that is very funny, argument. How can they ban? All the natives had to do was just walk to 2 kilometers and can get another blade. How can they enforce the ban? It's just 100 blades hidden. It's 2 kilometers, just 500 meters away from his house. You can get another blade anytime. So how can they impose the ban? The funniest thing is, they even mentioned the year 1762, I think 1764. So Ned and I did our research. We were never under the Spaniards in the inclusive years 1762, because from 1762 to 1763 to 1765, we were under British rule. In fact, the Spanish Governor General was arrested by the British. When they invaded the Philippines, the British found out, oh, it's not a worthy place to fool around with. So how can you implement that? We're not under the Spanish, those mentioned years about the ban of bladed weapons. Now, in all practical intents and purposes, he's going to slaughter the, the carabaos, the beef, the pork, the pigs for the Spanish friars who are voracious, have voracious appetite. They like the fun of chorizo, things like that. No, it's not practical. Never practical. So that's not true. Just a lot of hogwash. Dr. Ned Nepangue, when we first talked in Ozamis, when he visited the Ozamis, we had a very heated argument. Not really heated, very engaging argument, because I used to believe in the Kali story, because I had a book of Dan Inosanto, the Filipino Martial Arts, and that book is together with Professor Reme Presa's Modern Arnis book and the Filipino Martial Art by Dan Inosanto. It is the best book, especially for beginners or advanced students, the best instructional book, very clear instructions there, so comprehensive about if you are a beginner or an advanced student of the Filipino martial art. I encourage guys to get a copy of those books as an instructional material. I give it a 10, those two books. So, being a Bruce Lee fan, I was also a fan of Dan Inosanto. Then Ned told me, this bullshit, that Kali, you're from Mindanao. According to the book of Filipino Martial Arts, Kali came from the south. Why don't you check it out? You're from here. You can travel anywhere. So, after that argument, no, I prove to you that you're wrong. I can find Kali in Mindanao. So I went around. I went to the most dangerous places or Muslim dominated, because if ever I can find Kali, it would be in the Muslim Moro dominated areas like Dumingog in Zamboanga. I went as far as, there's part of my AOR. I was already supervisor then with Nestle. I went as far as Amargo sa Tubig. So when I finally, for the first time, I reached Margo Satubi together with my scout rep, Jojo Cardenas. One of the dealers warned me, "Sir, you're the first supervisor of Nestle who came to this area." Really? I told him, "You shouldn't really be here." Why? What? That dealer just across my store? Yeah, I just got kidnapped last month. I don't want anything to happen to you. Okay, so I told Jojo, can we go to some other place where we can find a blacksmith? Because if you find a blacksmithing center in Binao, then you would know if Kali is real or not, right? Simple common sense. So I went to Dumingog because there were a lot of blacksmiths in Dumingog. Moro blacksmiths. They asked around, "Have you heard of Kali?" No, you don't know what Kali is. Kalis is a Chris, but we don't always call it Chris. Not Kalis. This is another name for Chris. So I went to Lanao, then Zamboanga. I went to Zamboanga also. Zamboanga City as far as Bungao in the Sulu. I went there when I was still with Nestle. I didn't find any Kali guys, so I have to look for a good resource person to really tell me if this is true or not. So fortunately, one of the guys is based in the US, Sally Nagarahen. He is the founder of the Philippine Moro Fighting Arts, PF, something like that, Philippine Moro Fighting Arts. In fact, one of his students participated in the cutting competition, an offshoot of the Forge in Fire. So I asked Sally Nagarahen, he's 100% also Moro. He's Muslim. So I asked him, "Do you think there's really Kali in Mindanao?" "No, sir." Never heard of it. So how about Silak? Because a lot of people are claiming that the FMA is influenced by Silak. This guy is a Silak master, authentic Tausug. He knows Silak. by the palm of his hands. He's a master of silat, sale. So, you know what, Tinni? Silat is not available to the ordinary Moro warrior. You don't get lessons in silat. Silat or kung tao is reserved only for the nobility in the Moro nation. Like you're the son of a sultan, of the high-ranking official in the, in the Bangsamoro. So ordinary guys do those huramintados who run amok and slash everyone's head. They don't know silat. They're just not scared to die. So that's it. So Kali is non-existent in Mindanao. No, that's not true. There's no such thing as Kali in Mindanao. And who could I ask better than an authentic Tausug guy, right? So the other person I asked was Billy Baclo. Manong Eric and I, Olavides, visited him in 1999, right in his hometown in Ozamis, in his home in Ozamis. Billy Baclo is also one of the influences of Lameco Eskrima because Edgar Solete also trained with him while Edgar was still in Ozamis. So I asked Manong Billy, Manong, you believe in that Kali thing? The mother of a Filipino coach? Never heard of that. But Manong, you're from Mindanao, you're homegrown Osamis City boy. You should know Kali. So I told him, you know what? My Eskrima came from Cebu in Cebu. It's from Prancing Ibanez. Okay, here you go again. It's always traced to Cebu. There we go again. So there's no Kali, no such thing. There's no Kali. Just fooling around with you. So Manong Billy also refuted a lot of the myths surrounding Escrimadors of his time. He told me, you know what? A lot of this BS is circulated by a lot of Eskrima stories. Escrimadors are never scared of the Japanese and their katana weapon. There's no truth to that. I've encountered, as a guerrilla fighter, I've encountered the Japs. They're never scared of dying. Just charge at your banzai. They charge a suicidal banzai. It's a banzai charge. Have you ever heard of banzai charge? Yeah, it's horrific. Yeah, they just charge at you even without bullets. Launch at you with your bayonets if you run out of ammo. So this is what Manong Billy told me. I was 82 years old around that time, 1999. You don't believe in those stories, And he was a very decent man, and I believe him because he always dressed impeccably. He was always shiny, pants, and always wore long sleeves. Typical of the Escrimadors of his days, like Tatang Illustrissimo. If you've seen videos of Tatang Illustrissimo and Mang Ben Lema of the Lighting Scientific Arts, they always dressed up. Whatever they do with the exhibition, they always wear long sleeves, nice, smart pants, So they always project a good image. Those were the old Escrimadors of their generation. So the other inspiration I had for the book is the untold stories of the many Escrimador who were never known. Like I found out about these guys from historians themselves, not from FMA historians, legit historians like Soterino Burinaga of Camotes. He defended his coastal town of Pilar from Moro pirate raids with his Eskrima. Then I read of this story from historian Evangeline Lavillis de Paula. Those are the unknown guys of Eskrima who protected our shores against Moro Raids. And another guy is Lorente Sabanal, also known as Laguno. He was the founder of Moalboal town in southwest of Cebu. It's now a diving haven, scuba diving paradise in the south. Then there's Juan Diong, San Fernando. And there's Tata Lucio Pastor in Bantayan. There's several other Escrimadors who defended our coastal towns against the Moro Raids. Otherwise, if it were not for them or the Spanish priests to trade them, Cebu and the rest of the Visayas would be Muslims by now, right? We would have practiced our religion, and a lot of our women would have been abducted there. In fact, Dumaguete, you know the source of the name, the Dumaguete, the city in Negros Oriental, where it's derived from, the name Dumaguete.
No.
Traces its etymology to the word dagit. Dagit in Cebuano means kidnap, to abduct. So there are actually 2 raiding seasons in a year. The first raiding season starts at the onset of the southwest monsoon, starts in July, right? I hope you can see this guy. I just make a rough drawing of the Philippine map right here in my notebook. Okay, this is Luzon, this is the Visayas, this is Cebu, Negros right here, right? The raiding season comes from Sulu. Some Buangas here. Go up, because southwest monsoon is the winds from the south going to the west. So it starts around the months of July. The first raiding season is basically to get food, to pillage for food and logistics for the raiders as they go up north. Then around this November, December, the Moro Raiders, their numbers are exhausted because of the battles they have with the Christian defenders of the Visayan Islands. The farthest they can go is Ilocos. Ilocos Norte. But they're already the supplies are already dwindled. So they come back. The second raiding season starts again during the northeasterly winds around December, where the Siberian winds blow in the opposite direction, and that's when they return back to Sulu. This time they pillage again for the second time. They raid again for the second time the Visayan shores, Cebu, Bantayan, Dumaguete, and that's where Dumaguete got its name, because Dumaguete, a lot of pretty women there, mestizas, they raid, no longer for the purpose of getting supplies and logistics, but they raid. The purpose of the raiding season for the second year, to culminate the raiding season of the year, is to abduct women for the Sultan's harem, to stole them as slaves or sex slaves. So if you notice, you go to Zamboanga or Sulu, you can see a lot of pretty Muslim women there. They were descendants of those Moro Raiders. A lot of them, you can just see, wow, just a beautiful, Muslim lady. So many pretty faces there. Yeah, and they're the products of the second Moro Raid, to abduct women for the harem, So that's the reason why the Visayan shores, the Cebu, Panay, this group practically dominate the FMA today. A lot of good FMA comes from Panay, Negros, like I don't have to mention already the Cebu arts because they're overexposed already, but a lot of good arts in Negros and Panay that you haven't heard of. We do the Caborata, there's Viñas Arnis, Lapu-Lapu Arnis, and there's also Tapado. Tapado is good. Long stick. You should talk to one of these guys soon. GM Rene Tongson can expound more on that. So these are the regions that practically in the book of Edgar Solete, 90% of those featured in the book of Edgar Solete, The Secrets of Arnis, Kali, and Fima, are Visayans, 98%. I counted them. So not being ethnocentric about it, because you have historical basis for that. It's not empirical evidence, but we have a good thorough study on the development of Eskrima Arnis in defense of our shores against Moro Raiders.
We interviewed Grandmaster Mike Vasquez, and he teaches modified tapado. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, but I haven't heard of GM Vasquez yet. But I know some of the tapado practitioners in Negros. I've met a lot of them. One of them is GM, who was part of the Russian house. I actually recommended him to the Russian house. Ginabo, GM Ginabo. It's Tapado guy. So what did he tell you about Tapado, GM Vasquez?
So when actually, Mike, you interviewed him, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
And basically, he learned it from Nono, the late Grandmaster Nono Mamar, and he basically.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So he took what he learned and modified it so that there's it's more simplified and there's more power. So the modified tapado is different from the traditional tapado from what he learned.
Yeah. So there are actually two groups teaching Tapado now. I'm not familiar with the political dynamics of Tapado and Negros. One is by Felix Ginabo, who teaches also Widow de Caborata. And he was Indo-Russian now. Very interesting, very effective, simple, very effective long stick technique. Just a lot of power and accuracy. Very nice art, and I would encourage everyone to learn Tapado. They have not been exposed to that yet. Yeah.
Manong Tinni, since Cebu is considered the Mecca of FMA,
Yeah.
what was the dynamic like back in the day with all the different systems? Did they get along? Did they not get along?
No, they did not get along. A lot of them. Bloody as hell. But some of the stories, the bad assery of this, a lot of them are exaggerated. A lot of it. The first FMA friends I got in contact with when I landed in Cebu after 20 years in Mindanao were Balintawak guys. Practically 100% were Balintawak guys. The first guys I taught, De Campo first. I was associated with GDC-IO then. So, and this is the prevailing culture in Balintawak. They're just, I don't know if they're just criminally inclined or it's not the skill, actually, it's not the skill. Because I think just my own theory, before they studied Balintawak, they were already nasty fighters since childhood, right? It was only enhanced when they studied the Balintawak system. And so many other guys. There's one, Baraw Sugbo. I don't want to mention this, but he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Crony Kabatingan, you search him out. Now, the heir of Baraw Sugbo is my good friend, Eduardo Senisa. He's been a good friend of mine for almost 20 years. He comes down to the house very often with Kurt Goody because we have one mutual student, Kurt Goody. Boy Senisa is the best teacher of Baraw Sugbo. But the one guy who really proved Baraw Sugbo works on the streets is Crony Kabatingan because Crony is a traffic enforcer. And he's done a lot of criminals in the streets, snatchers, petty thieves, And this came from Kurt Gooding himself. Kurt is one American guy who doesn't make up stories. He doesn't make up stories. He's just a very truthful guy. Kurt told me, I studied with Boy Senisa. I'm a student of it because Boy is the better teacher than Crony Kabatingan. But if I tell you the truth, was proving himself on the streets, Crony has disarmed 10 guys in the downtown area. Really? That many people he disarmed? Yes. So that's why I always endorse Baraw Sugbo.
Yeah, because Mike and myself, we train under the GM Bobby Tabuada's Balintawak, and we're also affiliated with Pononggoro Michael Malanyon, who also studies under Grandmaster Eduardo Saniza. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we're connected. We're connected in that. And I attended Grandmaster Eduardo Saniza's seminar online this past weekend, and he's another person we want to interview, and he's in good terms with Punong Guru Michael Vincent Malañon, and we just wanna build a network, and we just want to I like the Baraw Sugbo, and we want to spread the art, and no chismis, no bad feelings. We just this is Baraw Sugbo or any FMA, and this is the story and history. If you want to know more, this is what it is.
I always endorse Baraw Sugbo as a knife defense, as opposed to be the best defense against a knife is not another knife. Because I've studied knife statistics, knife criminal statistics, especially the one done by Masada Ayub of the Lethal Institute. If you've heard of Masada Ayub, he's a gun guru. Who's a regular contributor to American Handgun. According to Masada Ayub, knife-to-knife fight ends up 98% dead. Both protagonists.
Both.
That's why, both protagonists. The best defense against a knife is a bare hand. That's why.
Manong Tinni, in your opinion, what is it about Baraw Sugbo that we won't name any other systems, but what makes it so effective, in your opinion, versus some of the other FMA knife systems?
One is it had a good lineage. It came directly from Lorenzo Saavedra himself, one of the founding fathers of Doce Pares. And the only one, Lorenzo Saavedra handed it down to his Ukit, I forgot the name, something, the nickname Ukit, then pass it on to Manong Siniza, the father of Eduardo Siniza, father of both Siniza. So practically, GM Eduardo Siniza is the fourth in the line of succession of Baraw Sugbo. So what makes it effective is that it's a two-armed, lock. You cannot disarm a knife single-handedly. Stop with the two-handed control of the knife. That's what I always see. And I've seen a lot of videos outside of Baraw Sugbo who endorse the same thing, two-handed control of the knife. And one of the best knife defense teachers is 84-year-old, just lives 300 meters away from my home, Manoy Paxtaneo. It's very interesting, guys. 84-year-old should hurry to come down here so I can take it to him. There's only one art I would recommend is Baraw Sugbo for knife defense. It's not 100% guaranteed, but it's a high percentage of success in applying the technique. As far as I'm concerned, personally, for me, I go for the sucker punch. my best defense against a knife is a sucker punch, because this is what I think. You get attacked by a knife, it's a frenzied attack. It's not all intent is there just to puncture you, to hurt you as bad as you can. I would rather not focus on the hands because it's very fast moving the hands. This is my personal principle, because if you think self-defense, you have the self-defense mindset. So it's a defeatist attitude, Somebody tries to harm you, you hit them hard, as hard as you can. Turn, you up the ante as far as your aggression is concerned. You're aggressive at me, my aggression towards you is 10 times more vicious than this thing. Because that has been my mindset since grade school up to high school, where I got into a lot of fights. And
Manong Tinni, if you can go back to your book a little bit. So your book, talks about how Eskrima has a big influence from Spain, which a lot of people seem to be, really resistant to believe that. Why do you think that's so?
Because they're invested in the story of Daniel Santos, Kali, the mother, Eskrima martial arts. There's an emotional investment with that story, and that just can't get away with it.
And probably commercialization.
Commercialization, and then the other thing that the 2,000-year-old martial arts is, is something really, really exotic. That's why you see a lot of guys into FMA who have Baybayin script in their motive, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the Facebook pages, you see Baybayin script, and that's just to project an image that we're an advanced culture. We had a martial arts, but the thing is, even if pre-Hispanic Filipinos, especially the Visayan Pintados, did not need martial arts to fight. Did we know how to fight? Of course. I think we were even better fighters then, before Eskrima came out. But we didn't have a name for it. We didn't have, it wasn't codified, it was systematized, it was institutionalized. In the model of Chinese and Japanese martial art, where there's a hierarchy, there's a ranking, there are grandmasters. Ancient Cebuanos can fight very well. They were like the Vikings of Southeast Asia. But have you heard of Viking martial arts? Right? Is there a Viking martial arts at all? If ever there was, it's just
they fought a lot, so I'm sure they had something.
Yeah. So how about the Nepalese Gurkhas? Yeah, you're fierce fighters. They're
Fierce
even
fighters.
organic in the British regiment. They're good with the kukri knife, but is there a seminar in kukri knife fighting from the Gurkhas? I don't think so. So every time you talk about fighting skills, people always equate it with the study of a martial art, the formalized study in the model of karate and kung fu. The only documented thing to describe the fighting arts of the Visayas was from historian William Henry Scott, very reliable historian, from his book. You can search that. It's on the internet. It's on PDF file. 16th century Philippine culture and history. 16th century. He devoted total of 8 pages in Visayan warfare. We did not talk about anything about the Luzon warfare. He dedicated 8 pages in Visayan warfare. And the thing he described that would resemble a fighting art is called Asdang. It's not Kali. That's the closest thing. He just like to, I'm not accurate about my quote, but he described it. The Visayans called fighting as Asdang. And Asdang is still widely used until today by Cebuanos. It means to raid or to attack. Asdang. And then the victory cry is called Hugiao. Hugiao. It's more like the haka of the Maoris in New Zealand. It's a victory battle cry. So that when the Pintados raid and they kill the enemies, they go into a chant, like the haka of the New Zealander, the Maori, called a Hugiao. So the closest thing to describe a martial art is Asdang. It's not Kali. If I were to find a word for a martial arts around that time, it's called Asdang. But the ancient Pintados were very organized, a good military organization. They had a flotilla of battleships. One is called the Trajo. I remember I can't remember the other one. The other one is called the Bangayan. Bangayan is just to collide head on with the enemies, just designed purely for collision. And the Trajo is where the fighters were in the lower deck or upper deck fighter. But they were armed with bolos, and spears were widely used. Spears and shields. Shields called paming. Spears. Any projectiles. And the pre-Hispanic Cebuanos also had helmets made of coconut husk. So they were armored. And they also had body armor made of abaca ropes tied around their vest. So that's it. So any sword fighting I would assume came late when the Spaniards, colonized the Philippines. So in the book shared to me by my friends in South America, just voluminous. But, just to whet the appetite of those, still longing for an ancient martial art. Yes, we did. Well, we know how to fight. We knew how to fight. Just like the Vikings knew how to fight back then, but there's no Viking martial arts, right?
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, everyone in Europe would be going to Norway and Sweden to, to take seminars in Viking martial arts.
Well, because with like the current state of Filipino martial arts globally, what are your opinions of Filipino martial arts in the Philippines, in Europe, in America, and Latin?
We'll talk about Latin America first. The Latin American friends, because of their Hispanic, culture, they tend to be more supportive of our, our book, our hypothesis on the origins of Eskrima. So here's my opinion about foreign training of the FMA. I have to admit, in the US, Europe, and other countries, they have I've seen a lot of guys who've taken a big leap in, pressure testing the Filipino martial arts and proving what works and what doesn't work. I like to give an example. Combatan in Italy, I forgot the names of these guys. They're really going all out, dog battle style, format, inspiring. I mean, that's the way to go. Because most Western countries like Europe and the US, they're more advanced. They had more access to, to equipment, and also they had better source of income than the average Filipino guys. The difference is that in the Philippines, we're not as litigious as did I pronounce it right? We're not as litigious as the USA, where you have to to fulfill a lot of documentation, like the waiver, in case you get you hurt somebody in the process of teaching the Filipino martial art. That's not applicable here in the Philippines. We all settle things, by ourselves. So there's still training here. There's still more pain, and it's not controlled, but everything just careless abandon. Right there, but it's not like in the US. You have to be very conscious of the legal ramifications of not getting your students into any sort of accident or hurting them. But as far as training equipment is concerned, I envy the Americans. Even the Bunal brands, the padded sticks of Steve Del Castillo, they're just superior to what we have down here. The difference is the padded sticks here hurt a lot. They can break your hands, especially the ones by T-Buy brands. Sticks is not so good, but the ones made in Cebu T-Buy, you just can still break your hand, you get hit. But Steve Del Castillo, I don't know how he did it, but it was just a testimony of really good research and research and development behind the brand. So that's the advantage of the Western countries over us in here. Also, sadly, ironically, ordinary Filipino kids, the younger guys, are not as attracted to the FMA than the Western countries. They're more inclined to study Taekwondo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because
MMA.
the cool factor. Yeah, not FMA. I have to admit that, not FMA. Even here, where I live, nobody wants to study Filipino martial arts. And we're supposed to be a high-end village here, one of the biggest villages here in Mactan. Nobody is interested. Every young guys who passed by when I trained foreigners here, Western guys, they just look at us. But they'd rather go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because the rich guys who want a status symbol.
Why do
The
you think
gi is
that
very
is?
expensive. Hmm?
Why do you think that is? Just, they don't think it's cool, or,
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool.
Yeah.
It's bakya, Filipino martial art. Oh, it's inferior to what. And but inversely, the Filipino Americans go to the Filipino martial arts as a fulfillment of their pride, national pride, ethnicity, pride of my roots, my country, the culture where I come from, and that's very good. Very good. As long as you don't just spouse Kali saying stuff like that. But I've noticed more Filipino Americans studying the Filipino martial art than our own homegrown Filipinos. And it's very
Yeah.
sad. Very sad.
Yeah, it is.
The other thing that's pulling us down is the politics behind. Everyone wants just want to put down everyone. There's a semblance of unity by some groups. There's an attempt to unify, like the PICAF headed by Senator Zubiri. But still, PICAF is just marred in conflict and rivalry between two factions, dominant faction.
Yeah, because it seems,
PICAF,
we were kind of, following that whole with the Arnis bill and everything that happened 10 years ago. It's required now, right, in PE in the Philippines?
mm-hmm.
It's required, right, for them to teach that?
Yeah, it is required in the curriculum. You study Arnis in the physical education curriculum. But here's the problem with the current curriculum. There's a lot of praises things they're doing right now because the dominant organizations handling the curriculum, they're not really the best. They don't belong to the best in the FMA here in the Philippines. So what you can see now is this purely cultural appropriation, like
Dance.
an Igorot native in G strings doing carenza. That's very offensive. That's why I wanted you to interview Daniel Coronda Mumbaki. He's a full-blooded Igorot. He comes from an Igorot tribe. He knows the culture very well. He said, it's cultural appropriation. We don't do carenza. We have our own dance. We have our own martial. We have our own butong. And so the annual competition in the PICAF is sanctioned by ICAF. It's just, it's mindless, wushu-inspired katas. It's another kind of cultural appropriation. And then if you see them, you watch those performances. What's the point of those kids? Like you're having an epileptic seizure, like making faces and moans and cries. It's crazy. That doesn't prove anything about the Filipino martial art. So it doesn't have taste. That's what I call it. So I wish one of these days Senator Miguel Zubiri will just form a committee to once and for all to fix things. Give the FMA a cool factor. It's not impossible. It just requires political will, leadership, firm hand to say, okay, enough of this bullshit. Let's proceed with this one. Look at the WICAF, the pickup, the armor. It's just DIY, do-it-yourself equipment. Can't we do anything better than that? The Americans are doing better with the helmet, with the gear, the protective equipment. There's a lot of good things that's happening. That's why I tend to admire more what's going on in foreign countries than what's going on in here, because it's just really, just really dumb, and it's spreading all over the schools, all over the institutions. The annual competition is not representative of what the Filipino martial arts is, because we never have pre-arranged kata or drill, just to be, to be at par with the kata of karate and Chinese kung fu. We never had that. We just had karenza. Karenza is it's an old practice. It's just a free-form shadow fighting. Karenza. That's old school style, and I see that only in the U.S. A lot of guys do karenza in the U.S. There are a lot of good things I find in the U.S. that's still true to the traditional, true to the traditional teaching. But here, no. I hope we can do
it's not
something about
practiced as
it.
much there.
Huh?
It's not practiced as much in the Philippines.
It's not practiced as much in the Philippines. And that's the sad part. And I hope you guys can do something about it in the future. And, just what my suggestion is, make it more attractive to the youth. You inject the cool factor. A gi here costs about 7,000 pesos. A BGJ gi. My son, my youngest son, he bought 3 gis costing more than 5,000 pesos. I mean, that's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If only guys into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu could spend that much money to invest himself in FMA, that will really improve the popularity of the art. Because the cool factor is there. What I mean, you know what I mean? The cool factor is there. So the way I look at it is more like a status symbol. Yeah, I entered BJJ because I have this. What are the most expensive gis right now? I forgot the brands.
Show your roll.
Yeah.
That's an expensive gi.
Tatami.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tatami. Very high-end gis right now. And then, so you'll see more guys, the rich guys who can afford to waste money, rather study BJJ or some other art, not FMA. And that's very sad.
Yeah. So that's kind of what you were talking about, the status symbol, because it's kind of expensive to start BJJ in the Philippines. So to be able to practice that, it's kind of showing that, okay, I got the money to do this.
Yeah, it is. It is very expensive. It is. And now we offer FMA even for free. We have scholarship. I can offer scholarship for you. Yeah, I can teach you for free. I can make it up with my foreign trainees who come here, who pay me 1,500 pesos per hour. That's peanuts to them, right? Mm-hmm. What's 1,500 pesos per hour to the American students who come here, seek you out, spend dollars in hotels here in Mactan. I've trained more than 10 guys, 10 foreigners here, mostly Europeans. And, yeah, I find it really sad, very ironic that, it's not attractive to our youth, the younger guys. And that should be the direction of our government. To pick up. Once in a while, fix things. Cut the bullshit. Do away the cultural appropriation, like the Igorot dancing karenza. That's just hurting the, sensibilities of our Igorot brothers. And then doing the Moro dance. There's one stupid thing I found in the internet. Guys, so another form of cultural appropriation. Guys, the dance troupe doing the singkil, a traditional Moro folk dance, tausug folk dance, while doing the double stick sanawali at the same time. I find that very insensitive. And then, our Moro brothers down the south will be very offended if they see that. Very offensive, insensitive. So, I wish that one day, Senator Zubiri will grab a hold of, take charge, cut the bullshit, do it the right way, get a fresh start. Because there will be interest, no doubt about that.
Oh, for sure. I think it's if it's presented in a way where they understand that.
You understand, yeah.
That the FMAs are, it's an amazing art.
Yeah. It's amazing art. It should be engaging and learnable.
Yeah, and outside of the Philippines, it's considered, practical, and exciting, and cool.
Yeah, cool. That's one thing. The cool factor is not there. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really a
hoping
problem.
to help with that, hopefully we get some viewers that are new to FMA from the Philippines, and they see that we have this beautiful art.
Yeah, yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah. Well, and because like that kind of leads us to the next question, where it's like, because like with the Chinese, the Korean, the Japanese, they're pretty much unified with all their different styles of martial arts within their country. Do you honestly feel like, do you think Filipino martial arts within the Philippines can unify as one?
It's not impossible. Actually, it's not impossible because Senator Zubiri is really doing his best to come out with a unified, culture, interest in propagating the art. The only problem I'm seeing right now is that the big conglomerates, you have an idea who they are, controlling the PCAF right now, are are forcing their own commercial agenda, like the way the competition format has to change. Right? It's really dumb equipment that we're doing right now. It's the same equipment that we had for the past 30 years. And second is the competition rules. We have the complete overhaul of the competition rules to make it attractive and to make the gear, Eskrima gear, more trendy, more. Again, I would go back to the cool factor because this is the only way you attract the younger guys. Because younger guys now, even if they're not serious about BJJ, as long as they have the bragging rights to wear their expensive Atami gear on Instagram and Facebook, okay, that gives them the status they desire. But we don't have that in the FMA. Look at the headgear we're using right now. Look at the armor. It's like it just doesn't have any aesthetic value in it. So who would be attracted to engage in that sport if we don't look good, right? I want to look cool. I want to look like a Star Wars, a Jedi Knight, something like that. It's not easy to analyze how you can get into the minds of the youth, the younger guys get attracted. The next thing is they have to overhaul the competition format. You have to overhaul it. The rapid competition that's patterned after week off, just you can't tell who's winning or losing, right?
Yeah, I
It's just
agree. It's
a
thousand
mindless
hits, but
barrage of abanico. You're not. It's not abanico, 100% abanico. It's doing abanico. It's mindless. It's stupid. It's dumb. You have to say this. I won't mind if you put it on air, but it's dumb, actually. So they have to compromise. There has to be political will. Dismantle the whole dumb competition format. Then inject the key factor. It's not an impossible task, actually. Senator Subiri has to get the right people. Someone from the corporate world, someone who knows marketing, young guys who knows how to package what the Filipino martial arts should be, how it should be projected. Then gather a team, a committee of sportsmen, exclude all the FMA stakeholders, cut them out. Somebody from MMA, like Alvin Aguilar, BJJ, someone from boxing, someone from fencing, what are they called, stock sport, judo, as long as you exclude the FMA so that when they lay down all these issues, it's hounding why it's not getting the mileage, getting the participation, the critical mass that should be achieved for the Filipino martial arts, because we don't have the pull factor. We're not attracting the young guys. The young guys are going and migrating towards BJJ and other arts. Muay Thai is more popular now. Even it hurts a lot, right? It's more popular in the Philippines now. So those are the markets you have to capture. They're involved in other exercise and other category physical activity like cycling. You have to catch them. You have to grab them into your category, the martial art, the Filipino martial art category. Guys who are into karate, grab them, get a share of the pocket. You know, that's the Nestle in me that's talking right now, talking of the share of the pocket of the potential customers you have the Filipino martial art. So that's it. Hire good people. Get rid of the dominant forces behind the PCAF. Pay them, put them on standby for us, then get guys from the corporate world, the expert, the marketing expert, the advertising gurus, you know, the experts in online marketing. It can be done. Just takes political will, a lot of guts to do that. No more patronizing this and that group. No. No. I strongly recommend that to Senator Zubiri. I believe he will listen. He's very nice, very balanced, very intelligent guy. And he also fights. He all competed in the past. That's the only way to go. That's the only way to fix things. Then do away the cultural appropriation. You have to be sensitive for the culture of the Moro people in the south. You have to be sensitive to the culture of the people in the mountain province, the Igorot culture, like that. Instead of letting them perform karensa in Bahag, in G-strings, no, that's tasteless, you know, that's really tasteless. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. I should encourage you to, you know, talk to Daniel Poronda right after this. He's an Igorot guy. He knows a lot of the issues hounding the Filipino martial arts.
He fought MMA.
Yeah, under URCC, under in the circuit of Alvin Aguilar.
Right, yeah.
He fought MMA. And he's a referee, an Olympic Greco-Roman wrestling referee. He refereed in the Athens Olympics. So he has a lot of robust background behind him, martial arts background. He also studied Shotokan and modern arnis under GM Ernesto Presas. It's a good background, really good background in FMA, both FMA and the other wrestling arts, ground arts. And he's also my partner in myth busting. We busted a lot of myths about the techniques that don't work.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. So that's it as far as, you know, the future of the FMA is concerned. Yeah, needs a lot of fixing. Can't happen overnight. But we need the support of guys like you in the US. You need a lot of guys because you have the resources there. Mike, you have the resources to you know, to spread the rightful way, the right way of, you know, how we support the martial arts. Yeah, I don't mind about the future of Estokada de Campo. It's not important to me. It's just a brand name.
Well, I think, you know, if we all do this together,
yeah,
you know, we could really help
we can make a
spread
difference.
this message. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially that you both guys under GM Bobby Tabuada. He's big and he's very influential. People respect him. People look up to him. With nobody talks bad about him. So yeah, you have a good, very solid lineage, and also the Baraw Sugbo behind you. But we can do this. I say we can. I believe we can do this.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
We will. We're gonna think positive and make it happen.
Yeah. The other guy I want you to talk with is Steve Del Castillo. He has a lot of good products, and he's also allergic to all the BS circulated around in the US and the Philippines. You know, there are so many woke guys already, woke guys again in the US supporting us, and that's the good news. That's the good news. The guys who support us, our vision for the FMA about the history stuff is, you know, it's growing growing exponentially as compared to those who once doubted the story. Because, like I said, it stood the scrutiny of the University of Manchester in the UK. How can it get better than that, right? Yeah.
Well, let's say I'm a foreigner and I wanted to learn Estokada de Campo. I mean, how would you, as a marketing person, it's like, how would you sell Estokada de Campo to a person, and how would you say it's unique and different from other Filipino martial arts? And the same thing, it's like, and if a person who is just starting out, how would you say what information would you give to that person in general of what makes Estokada de Campo different from other FMAs?
I invested a good deal of study before I finally formally launched Estokada de Campo out in the open, teach for in 2018. To think that I've been doing FMA for more than 30 years now. So what's the differentiation in Estokada de Campo? First, foremost, most important thing is I can guarantee quantifiable, measurable improvement performance. There's an exercise I call, actually this came from Manong Eric. He inherited from Caballero. The first day drill is what I call the cross to perdition. It's about how do I do the cross to perdition? I do calibrated a series of random downward strikes, perfect vertical strikes. Then at any given time, I shift to a horizontal strike. That's what I do. Vertical and horizontal. And all my instruction to the new trainee is hit with the tip of your sticks. When I go horizontal, you strike with a vertical. Right? When I go horizontal, you strike with a vertical. When I go the opposite, go vertical, you strike horizontal. Then I count your number of hits in 60 seconds flat, 60 seconds. So I've already accustomed to my timing. But later on, as I evolve, as I gather enough resources, funds, I will do this with a metronome. You know what a metronome is? Michael would know what a metronome is. It's a musical, device that measures the beat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, metronome. So I do that 60 seconds, and I measure the first day strike rate performance. Like Fabian, I trained Fabian last year, June. The first day of Fabian, his strike rate was in 60 seconds, 32 hits. Cross the perdition, 32 hits. So that was the first day. Okay, Fabian, take note of how you did. You did 36 hits today on your first day. You had no lessons yet. What your striking patterns with me, or your striking attributes from your previous system? I'm not saying your previous system is bad, but on your last day of training, because Fabian Juliville trained with me for 2 weeks, 14 days. Yeah, 14 days. So on the last day of Fabian, okay, are you ready to do that test with me to see your improvement? So we did the cross to perdition again, one more time, 60 seconds, same cadence, same timing. You won't believe me, from 36, his strike rate jumped to, I think, more than 100, 115, 120, something like that. Yes, more than 100% strike rate. And that I can always guarantee them that. And more powerful strikes. So now this is my Nestle discipline coming in, because in Nestle, you don't fool around with figures. You have to present your, in the corporate world, in the multinational, you present your performance with actual facts and figures, indisputable facts, evidence-based figures, quantifiable, measurable. So from 36 to this first day, the cross to perdition, it jumped to 100 hits on his last day. You can always verify that with Fabian. Also with Ricardo Benitez. I think Fabian was the highest. Ricardo jumped to 30 plus to around 90 plus something. It was more than double. It's more than 100%. The other thing that makes Estokada de Campo unique is that I am not a technique-centric guy. I go for resistance training, especially for the footwork. I have a very crude device right now. I'm using an old motorcycle tire, interior tire, wrap around my waist, just to give the guys a good burst of speed every time they do the footwork that I teach them to do. I always encourage trainees to improve on their physical conditioning. One of my trainees from Belgium, Julian Ganti, they trained with me for 2 weeks also here in our village. He can do 100 burpees every time I take a break. 100 burpees, imagine that. So that's why that's what I always encourage my trainees to do. I'm a stickler for CrossFit, and generally for guys who study the martial arts, I always give them this tip because you have to learn how to detach yourself. Once you're out of the dojo, out of the training venue, detach, forget, disconnect anything that has to do with the martial arts. Think about those things. Think of beautiful girls. Think of music, beat, what other pursuit you want to desire in your life. Just seal it off. Completely martial arts. Because if you know what you think all day, 24 hours a day, you floating in your mind, occupy your mind, distracts and stuff like that. It's going to result into something like what I call it catatonic stupor, where you finally get to prove yourself in an actual encounter. You freeze because everything's just too mixed up, just too overloaded information right in your head. So you forget about your natural instinctive fighting abilities, right? So that's what I always do. Once you're out of the job, don't think, forget about me. Don't think about me anymore. Forget about the drills. Only remember that when you come back here, then maybe spend a few minutes of your time in the day to think about it. But there are other beautiful things to think about other than the martial arts, because that will make you a very balanced person, right? And it will make you a safer guy to talk with. You don't just go out and lose control every time you get into an argument. Also, we're sparring focused. I would want to spend a great deal of time, let's say 60% to be sparring and pressure testing. There's a drill I call turbo drills, where the feeder and the striker just go full speed without, in a non-cooperative drill. I think it's in my Estokada de Campo group. It's just go full swing. Just strike there with a full speed, with a specific target, like just like the 2 inches from your thumb. The last trainer who did this, yes, Fabian. I just think it just hit me. Of course, I'm wearing hockey gloves. Fabian just hit me about 4 inches from my thumb. That's all you have to do. But I go full swing. I go full swing, full strike. That's the alternative I have if we cannot spar. And focused on estoque. That's why we call it Estokada de Campo, because you can strike somebody with an angular strike as many times, many counts as you can, but it's not easy to knock down a guy with just a rattan stick. The only way you can end a fight decisively is a thrust to the throat or to the eyes like this. Game over. So I have a lot of drills and exercises, resistance exercises in developing the thrust is okay using a stick. Specific for sticks, not sword. Thrust to the sword is a different animal altogether. The other thing I want to train my guys, pattern recognition. Recognizing pattern. It's like you play guitar, right, Mike?
Yes, I do. And piano.
And piano. Okay, you're familiar with scales, right?
Mhm.
You do scales like when you do diatonic scales. Back in the old days, I used to copy licks from Fontana, note for note, one note at a time.
Right. A lot of jazz guys do that.
Yeah, so it was a tedious process until I learned scales, musical scales. So like when you try to cipher a copy song by George Benson, for example, Affirmation, it's diatonic. Okay, diatonic. Immediately at the first time you hear it, you can recognize the scale, the pattern. That's what I want to develop, translate that into the martial arts. Pattern recognition. Because when you're familiar with musical scales, all you have to do is pick up the first two notes and the last two notes. Pick up the first two notes and then you can actually, in your mind, you can hear what goes in between those notes, right? Pick up the first two notes and the last two notes. That's a scale. Whether it's Lydian, pentatonic, diatonic, chromatic scale. I want to apply that in the martial arts because you can transfer that visually once you have pattern recognition. So that's what I want to. It's still under development. Because I want to translate the recognition of musical scales into movement, into action. Then you don't have to, block this way and that way. Oh, he's going to strike that way and that. You only have to know what goes on from the start of his pattern up to the end. Then you can, intercept or strike what goes in between those patterns.
Mhm.
Right? You got me there?
Like improvise.
So, improvise. So I think that decent degree of success in that was sparring with Tata Tejero. So, but Tata is also a very smart fighter, He can also tell where I'm going because he's also a very musical guy. So, okay, so it's a matter of now who's faster, who's stronger, and the better striker, more accurate striker. So, sparring focus in Estokada, quantifiable, measurable performance, pattern recognition, and lastly is space, distance management. This is very important in the Illustrissimo system and some other systems, but I would like to take it further because some of my distance management. I derive it from constant sparring and pressure testing. I have some techniques of estimating distance, not only estimating, but measuring the actual distance between you and your target. Also, what I call distance deception. There are a lot of ways you can deceive someone who looks at you in a three-dimensional, perspective. So, one last thing is, if you're my student, if you're my trainee, you have to express it yourself. You have to express. You have to develop your own style. Only monkeys mimic. I hate mimicry, so people will have to be creative enough to find themselves, to find their own style.
Well, because Mike and myself, we've interviewed a lot of gurus, grandmasters, and teachers. Um, One specifically, we interviewed a grandmaster in California, and he said when he was learning, he learned from a lot of the old farmers that immigrated to America of systems and styles of Filipino martial arts that nobody's heard of. And when they died, a lot of knowledge died with these old escrimadores that no one has heard of. So the question is, are you worried that is someone going to take what you have learned and taught within your system, rebranding it? And another part of that question is, where do you see your system going in the future?
Yeah, good question. I'm not worried at all because Kit once asked me this question. Sir Tinni, what's your vision for Estokada de Campo? My answer was fast and quick. Kit, you can verify this with Kit if you know him. Kit, my vision is I wish there would be no more Estokada de Campo, no more branding, anything like that. Just plain pure arnis or Eskrima. So in regard to your question, am I worried at all if somebody is going to, to pick up what I know, what I transfer to them and claim it as their own? No. That's why I used to have some people encourage me to formalize a set of ground rules, a memorandum of agreement. All these are just paper, just pieces of paper, right? And I've known organizations, big organizations, all over the world with strict standards, about policies, things like that. But shit happens to them a lot of times. People get expelled, they get kicked out of their clubs. Politics still dominates. So I'm not worried at all. Doesn't scare me at all. Because you know what, just FMA is not just my only passion. I have other pursuits also. And, I never desire it to be my main source of income for my family. But there are things I would like to do. Well, aside from the FMA, I have other passions also. I write songs during the lockdown. I actually write songs.
I want to jam with you when we go to Cebu.
Sure. Well, like, what are your influences?
I'm mainly an acoustic player, nylon string player.
Okay. Jason Mraz, okay with you, John Mayer?
Whatever. I'm classically trained.
Huh? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Classical guitar?
Classical guitar, flamenco guitar.
Flamenco? Shit, you're better than me.
No, my flamenco is not very good.
Mine sucks. I hate the rascado.
all flamenco techniques.
But I play 8th grade. I play 8th grade classical.
Oh, that's good.
Capriccio Rabe, yeah. Recuerdos de la Alhambra.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I do that. The tremolo, cavatina, still to brush up on it.
No, but it's cool that you you compare martial arts with music, because I'm similar like that too. A lot of similarities.
A lot of guys. A lot of the martial artists I know were musical guys. Sonny Umpad's one of them. He was a bass player. Who else? Jim Bobbitt Taboada, for Christ's sake.
I just saw a video of him on Facebook playing the piano.
Yeah, he played the piano. Looks like it's all interconnected. The musicality and the martial arts.
Absolutely.
It's hard to detach one from the other if you're into it. Oh, that's a good thing. We should jam one of these days.
Absolutely.
We should.
I mean that's good to hear too, because we always hear splinterings within the Filipino martial arts. So it's just like, are you always worried about someone's gonna take what they've learned from you from the Estokada de Campo and they're gonna change it and change the name to like, oh, I'm gonna change it to Tactical de Campo Fighting Arts and rebrand it?
Yeah, it's his word against mine. That's what I always stand by my the integrity. But I am very happy with my pool of coaches. They're very fine fellows. They're very fine human beings, and I couldn't be happier with the guys I chose to represent Estokada de Campo. All of them, all of them. I have no issue. Every single one of them. I don't have no complaints at all. I'm happy. And yeah, I want to reiterate that again. I don't have any strict memorandum of agreement or code of conduct that everyone should, stick to, comply with. Nah. People will always go in and out, you know. But one thing I'm sure that nobody will talk trash about me, especially from my pool of friends in the FMA. Because, as I said, I don't rely on it for a living. I don't want to make a living out of the FMA. But if there's opportunity for me to make money, well, why not? But I'm not pushing. I'm not pushing. Right?
Well, it's like it's funny because like usually it's like with all the Filipino martial arts grandmasters and teachers, they get along with each other, but it's usually the students that starts the trouble.
Yes, that's right. Correct. Starts to sow intrigue and unwarranted intrigue, because it has something to do with I don't know, just selection process, I think, something like that. But no. In fact, I have very good relationship with my mother club, Eskrima de Campo JDC-IO. I'm in contact with the guys, my former students there. I have no issue. We have good relationship with the other De Campo variants. There are only three of us. Pat Miramar is a good friend of mine, De Campo PPC General. The original De Campo 1, 2, 3 Orihinal, headed by Jumalin Caballero. And Manong Eric Olavides had his marching orders to all of us. I mean, this is what Manong Eric Tinni, the trade name, De Campo 1, 2, 3 Orihinal, should belong to the immediate heir, the family of Manong. We should never carry that name because I am not in the family. Even though he was one of the top students of Caballero, Eric. But he's a very humble guy, very, very lovable man. I respect him a lot. This is what his marching orders. You don't touch the name, the compound of those tres, it belongs to the family. I take his word for it. So, Jumalin Caballero, the grandson of Manong Jose, I helped him a lot. I offered him a job last year as a merchandiser. He needs all the assistance, all the support we can. And Paulo Pagaling, one of his top instructors, who is also my coach in EDC, in Estokada de Campo. Hopefully, in the next Russian house, they'll be taken in by Alexander. But Alexander II has already agreed to take them in. The Campo Urustre, because they're good. They're really, really good. And also just for the sake of, respecting the heritage of Caballero. That's why I endorse these guys. I'm also endorsing the other guys, the Russian house, who are not, we're still struggling to get international attention. Like Mang Henry Espera, his coach, Gani Abun. And I'm also very, 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 very vocal in express my admiration for these guys who really push the envelope in sparring, like the MK, Mandirig Bangka, Manolo, Luis Del Rosario, Nols Del Rosario, and his top protege, Ryan Cordero, also known as Bagani Dabao, sparring partner, Tata Tero, all those guys who really were dauntless or never scared of, pushing things. I think we've covered everything, unless you have other questions.
Do you have any parting words?
My parting words to all FMA practitioners and be your own style. Some
Your own
guys,
what? I'm sorry.
some teachers, be your own style.
Your own style, okay. Your own expression.
Yeah, your own expression. Don't be content of just mimicking all the moves of your teacher. Of course, your instructor, the first day as a basic part of the thing, will always pound on you to mimic what he's doing because those are the basics. But later on, when you spar, you have to express yourself the way you want it. Let your fighting instincts kick in. Let it all kick in. And there's one thing that's I'm driven into the martial arts because out of a sense of compassion and kindness. That's always the anchor that's deep ingrained in me since I was a child. Especially this time of the pandemic. Let's show it to everyone, all human beings, not only all the animals in the world. Okay, I think those are my parting shots there, Mike, and been a pleasure talking to you guys.
Okay, Manong Tinni. Well,
All right. Maraming salamat.
thank you very much for our
Okay,
discussion.
I've covered everything. Yeah, thank you too. Thank you. I hope you all will see each other again.
Oh, absolutely.
Have the chance to,
Oh yeah.
to visit them.
Yeah. We will
one
go to the
thing-
Philippines. We will go to the Philippines.
Wow,
Or even
I'll be
Mexico if they have the next Russian house in Mexico.
I'll give you a shout. I'll give you a shout.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Thank you guys.
Manong Tinni,
Right.
thank you very
Maraming
much.
salamat. All right, maraming salamat.
Yeah, thank you. Maraming salamat. Yeah.